Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andrew Stott, I'm the Emperor of Stomaria, and today I want to discuss our new alliance with the Princedom of Moorland. Now, first of all, as you can see, this is a slightly different setup, and the only reason for this is that it is actually in the middle of the night. It's been a very hectic few weeks for me, for reasons that I won't go into here, but I've not had the opportunity to do a video regarding the Empire of Stomaria or micronationalism in general for a little while now, but because of the alliance with the Princedom of Moorland, I need to make a video about it, and so I'm kind of rushing this a little bit. I'm just doing it in the middle of the night while everyone's asleep, or trying to sleep at this point. They can probably hear me now, but I just wanted to make this video because it is a very important step for Stomaria. It's an important milestone for Stomaria, and so what I want to do is I want to talk about the Princedom of Moorland in particular, why they've ended up as allies of Stomaria, what that relationship means, and how we're going to go forward with this. So I just want to cover these sort of basic points in this video for those who may not know about this, because we have kind of two different communities, I suppose. We have our sort of Facebook community and we have our YouTube community. Some of our followers are on Facebook but not on YouTube, and vice versa. So it's quite important for these sorts of events that I cover in both Facebook and YouTube. So that is what we're doing now. So the Princedom of Moorland is a micronation that's actually based in the Channel Islands, specifically in Jersey. It was founded on the 6th of February 2020, if I remember correctly, but it wasn't officially launched, I suppose. It didn't have its declaration of independence, or rather, until I think it was July 2021, if memory serves. But they are quite a long-standing micronation in micronational terms, in the sense that they've, they've hit the six-month mark since their independent state, and obviously been, officially formed in 2020, obviously a lot longer than that. So they have a lot of longevity behind them. They are most prominent on Facebook, I believe. They have their own Facebook page, and I think they're probably best known for their charity work. They have a Patreon campaign. They have a few citizens, but it's mainly a family-orientated micronation, which a lot of micronations typically are, because when you set up a micronation, you generally start with family, friends, and then sort of the wider world, and they're very much at that stage. And they've fleshed out their micronation very well. I tip my hat to Prince Alexander, the highest authority of the Princedom of Moorland, because he's really built something quite professional and sleek looking. They do have a very professional looking website. They have a lot of details about their territory, about their values, about where they've come from, what they're trying to do, and all the rest of it. So I would very much recommend going and visiting that website, and I will be leaving that link in the description below. And also a link to their Patreon campaign, because like the Empire of Stomaria, they recruit citizens through Patreon. So if you did want to become a citizen of Moorland, then obviously you're welcome to do so through the Patreon campaign that I'll link in the description below. The flag of Moorland, it's quite basic, but I actually really quite like it. That's not changed as far as I know since it was founded, and the name hasn't changed since it was founded either, which are again both big pluses for us. And in terms of how we came across them, simply it was Facebook. I saw a few posts from them a little while ago, and I think it might have been maybe October 2021. And it initially caught my attention, so I had a look at them and kept an eye on them and all the rest of it. But it was actually them that approached us in November 2021 about potentially becoming a protectorate or an associated state or an observer state within the Empire of Stomaria. We discussed it at length. It was very courteous and all the rest of it, but at the end they decided it wasn't for them. I said that was absolutely fine, we'd keep in contact if anything else changed or anything happened. And in January something did change, in that, as well as trying to build the Empire of Stomaria as a micronation of micronations, in terms of incorporating more micronations into the Empire of Stomaria as a part of its territory, or as a part of building a community, a part of building a trade network, we were also going to align ourselves more formally with a handful of micronations outside of Stomaria that didn't want to be incorporated into Stomaria necessarily, but shared our values, shared our objectives, and aligned with us very well. And geographically speaking, were a lot closer than even some of the micronations that form part of Stomaria. For instance, obviously the Princedom of Moorland is in Jersey, whereas the Kingdom of Norwick, which is an observer state within Stomaria, is in New Zealand. So there's that not issue, but there's that point to make, is that it's obviously easier for us to engage in a real world relationship with micronations that are geographically closer to us. It's just a simple fact. And so the Princedom of Moorland and Stomaria, myself and Prince Alexander, we discussed quite extensively, but quite quickly as well, over the course of only a few days, about establishing an alliance, like a formal alliance. And they were very keen, which was great for us, and obviously we are the ones that actually initiated that process. We approached them to see if they still wanted to be affiliated with Stomaria in some way as a formal ally, and fortunately they said yes. And I was very pleased to hear that, because obviously, like I said, we had a little a breakdown in negotiations, if you like, not in in a nasty way or anything. It just wasn't going to work out the way we wanted it to. So we were very pleased to have them on board with this alliance proposal, and it really took me by surprise as to how much they wanted to not be incorporated into Stomaria, but to play a role in Stomaria, to actually have an actual alliance that was meaningful, that actually was mutually beneficial. And they didn't hold back. And I'll get on to a few more points which relate to this in a little bit. I'm just talking about the initial process, the initial setup here. But right off the bat, they said, Prince Alexander said, I would be quite happy to contribute financially to Stomaria as a Lord of Stomaria. And he even suggested that he could become a Lord of Stomaria, but without the title. And, obviously I wasn't going to have that. If you become a Lord of Stomaria through our Patreon campaign, then you get the title and all the rest of it. You become a member of the Imperial Court. You're entitled to priority positions, high-profile positions within Stomaria, because, you're contributing more financially to the project. So Prince Alexander actually became technically our fourth Lord of Stomaria, but second current Lord of Stomaria, in that, because people join, and then join as a Lord of Stomaria, then they decide to downgrade to a citizen of Stomaria, and then they upgrade to a. It's not really a simple process to keep track of it. It is at the moment because not very many people have become lords of Stomaria, but he was the 4th person to become a lord of Stomaria. And so he became a lord of Stomaria, and we needed to do something quite significant in return. So we organised the design of a small number of artwork which they could use. These are things that we pay for professionally. We pay professionals to do them, just as we do our own artwork. All the images, all the designs, all the graphics. It's not something I do myself. I get professional artists to make them for us, and so we paid for that. But the one of the key things here is that not only was Prince Alexander going to become a Lord of Stomaria, a member of the Imperial Court, have a say in the direction that Stomaria is going as a part of Stomaria's central governing body, but also we were, a lot of focus was placed on the Stomarian status, which is something that we're quite focused on because we want more Micronations to use the Stomarian status. We want more Micronations to use it as a medium of exchange between citizens within their own micronation and between micronations themselves. And fortunately, he was very keen to get on board with this idea. And so he suggested that they make a decree saying that Stomarian status would be legal tender or medium of exchange within the Princedom of Moorland, which is great to hear. And I suggested in return that as the first ally of Stomaria that we, it's not the first ally that we've ever had, in the sense it's not the first formal relations we've ever had, but it is the first formal relations we've had in, I think, just shy of 2 years, so a very long time. So to mark the occasion, I did say that we would have the name, the symbols of Moorland on a future batch of Stomarian staters. I mean, if they were obviously still in the same position that they are in now, and assuming that they are still happy for us to go ahead with that. And this has since gone even a little further, where I've been approached by Prince Alexander to say, is there any way that they could contribute to the production of the Stomarian staters? We are. This is an ongoing discussion that we are having. It's literally one that we had, as I'm making this video this afternoon. This is something that we're going to discuss a little further down the line. I have said, I'm not necessarily comfortable you just sending money to produce Stomarian staters. There has to be some, immediate benefit for you. Maybe we can, for instance, if we got the total cost of minting another 100 Stomarian staters, I pay half, they pay half, and then we get 50 staters each, something along those lines. It's not like I don't want to take advantage, but it would be a more affordable way for both of us to acquire more silver coins, which are micronational in nature. But yeah, I mean, that's another big sticking point there. Their interest in the Stomarian stater, in the concept of sound money, in the use of sound money, which, as many people know, is a big thing in Stomaria. But it, again, will help to build this trade network that we're looking to establish, because when they have Stomarian staters, then they'll be able to, exchange goods with other micronations in return for those staters. And we'll, hopefully they'll be able to produce something, the Princedom of Moorland will be able to produce something, and they can get more status that way through trading with us, or trading through the Kingdom of Wayward or other micronations. And this is always just something I'm very excited about, because this is not since the incorporation of the Kingdom of Wayward into Stomaria as an associated state have we had a micronation that was relatively close proximity to us, that was as eager as the Kingdom of Wayward to work with Stomaria in trying to build something, in trying to build that real world community, in trying to build that trade network, in trying to build that ideal, turn those values and objectives into reality. And I get messages from Prince Alexander every day, and I love reading them, because I can see the sort of bright-eyed, bushy-tailed sort of enthusiasm that a lot of people lose quite quickly in the Micronational community. And it's great to see. It does make my day. It spurs me on. Go, oh yeah, I've got people that actually care about this as much as I do. So yeah, it's all great. And the next stage of all this is that we're actually going to have a face-to-face meeting, and we're going to have that. It's going to be organised in the next few weeks. But Prince Alexander, myself, and King Raoul of the Kingdom of Wayward, we're actually all going to meet at the Kingdom of Wayward at some point, and at that point, you know, going to give them the tour of the Kingdom of Wayward, we're going to discuss ideas, and we're going to go out for a meal, I suspect. And at that point, I'm also going to give a small number of Sumerian staters to Prince Alexander to take back with him, to add to his own treasury, or to utilize in some way to purchase or barter for goods and services with other Micronations or other Micronationalists in his area. And yeah, that's where we're at the moment with it. And going forward, I mean, honestly, as an ally of Stomaria, they are going far beyond what we would have expected them to, in how far they're integrating themselves into the Stomarian trade network, in terms of how much they're integrating themselves into Stomaria's government. And again, I'm just very excited about it all. I'm very excited to be working with Prince Alexander, and I hope that you'll be seeing a lot more of them, of Prince Alexander, his family, and the Princedom of Moorland overall. And I will undoubtedly be making more videos about the Princedom of Moorland going forward. But in the meantime, you know, I would normally end a video going over a spiel about, if you're interested in joining Stomaria and all the rest of it, go and join our Patreon campaign, blah, 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 blah. But for this particular video, if you would be interested in finding out more about the Princedom of Moorland, I am leaving a link to their website in the description below. So go and check that out. And if you wanted to become involved in the Princedom of Moorland, maybe you live in Jersey, maybe that's the closest Micronation to you, then if you wanted to join the Princedom of Moorland in order to help support them, then you can become a citizen of the Princedom of Moorland through a Patreon campaign, much in the same way as you can become a member of the Stomarian community, become a Stomarian citizen through our Patreon campaign. You can do the same with theirs. So if you are a Stomarian citizen, feel free to join the Princedom of Moorland as well, if you so wish. If you are not a Stomarian, but you quite like the idea of the Princedom of Moorland instead, for, you know, X, Y, and Z reasons, then please feel free to go and join them as well. Because, you know, it's just about getting as many people involved in the community as possible. If, you know, someone joins Moorland, but Moorland's, you know, associated in some way with Stomaria, or someone joins Stomaria, but we're associated with Moorland, it all ties together, it all helps to build that sense of community, that identity. And like I said, even though the Princedom of Moorland, and I want to emphasize this as much as possible, the Princedom of Moorland is not a part of the Empire of Stomaria. We are merely allies. We are aligned. We are formally affiliated with one another, which is something that Stomaria very rarely does. So this is something definitely worth reporting on. So if you enjoyed that video, please feel free to give it a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.